So, last year, I made a video talking about one of my favorite franchises, Ratchet and Clank, and talking about the legacy they made and what I thought was next for the franchise. I thought, hey, maybe there'll be a new game this upcoming year, maybe not. There's some rumors that suggest maybe that's true. Maybe there'll be another PS4 game. And here we are, January 2020. Not much has really changed, to be honest. But there was one thing that I didn't really think about at the time that commenters pointed out to me, and it's sort of a minor detail, but kind of a big detail, is the launch of the PlayStation 5. Now, we don't know exactly when the PlayStation 5 is coming out, but it's rumored and suggested that maybe by the end of the year it might be coming out. I mean, we don't know for sure, but we know we're getting there. We know it's kind of boiling under the surface at this point, and it's getting ready to break free sometime soon. We know that much. And the more I thought about it, I realized, you know what? Maybe the reason why we haven't seen a Ratchet and Clank yet is because maybe they're just waiting for the next generation. And that would kind of make sense, because the thing is, when you're transitioning to new hardware and all that, sometimes it could be difficult when you try to make a game on multiple generations of hardware. And the reason why I say that is, for example, during the launch of the PS4, when people were still using PS3s, there were a lot of games that were released on both PS3 and PS4, and a lot of those games, unfortunately, were hamstrung quite a bit by putting them on both consoles, because the thing is, yes, you can downgrade the graphics and whatnot, but at a certain point, there are some things you just can't do with that old hardware even when you turn down the graphics. And so because it limits that version of the game, it potentially limits the next gen version of the game as well. For example, you could look at like the original version of GTA 5, and so that could potentially cause problems. So it's possible that Insomniac, since they're a more kind of like smaller focused, well, I mean, they're not a small studio, but they're a more focused studio, maybe instead of trying to put games on different platforms, maybe they're just waiting for the next gen. And that would also kind of make sense because they've never had a cross-gen Ratchet and Clank game, right? Like Into the Nexus was like the closest Ratchet and Clank game to the PS4 launch. They didn't re-release it on PS4, right? Size Matters wasn't put on PlayStation 3. You see what I'm saying? Like they don't really do like the cross-platform, or I'm sorry, cross-generation like Ratchet and Clank games. So it's possible they're just waiting for the shoe to drop on PlayStation 5 to actually give us a Ratchet and Clank game. Now, once again, I don't have any sources to back that up. Okay, this is not some sort of like evidence-based essay. This is just me sitting here and telling you, hey, I think it's fairly likely that this is the case, that they're waiting for the PlayStation 5. I think it would make sense because perhaps they got busy developing their other games, and maybe Ratchet and Clank kind of sat to the side for a while, or maybe they have a lot of stuff planned for it and it just took a long time, and maybe they realized, hey, you know what, the PS4 is getting kind of old, we should just do this on next gen. And that might be the case, I mean, of course we don't know for sure, but it just seems fairly likely. And then there are two other important things, or possibly important things, I thought I would note while I'm talking about this. Number one, back in I believe August, Sony actually bought Insomniac Games. Now, honestly, that's not too surprising to me because, I mean, yes, Insomniac has made games for other platforms, but, look at Ratchet and Clank. That was a PlayStation exclusive. I mean, for a long time, Insomniac was basically a PlayStation developer. So it's not too surprising to me that Sony bought them up. I mean, that doesn't necessarily mean for sure there's going to be another Ratchet and Clank game, but I think it does speak positively towards that. Also, there's the fact that Ratchet and Clank for the PS4, that game sold pretty well. So I don't think, some people were kind of worried that, oh, maybe they're not going to make another Ratchet and Clank game. Gee, I don't know. Look, Ratchet and Clank for the PS4, sold pretty damn well. The movie didn't do too bad either. So I think at the end of the day, the sales figures are there, the fan base is there. I don't see why they wouldn't make another one. And then you may say, oh, you know, why did they slow down so much then? Because they used to be putting out Ratchet and Clank games, it felt like, you know, every couple of years. And, well, like I said, it might be because the new console generation's coming up. It might also be because Insomniac has other projects going on too. And perhaps, you know, these other projects are taking more of a front seat right now. And maybe Ratchet and Clank is kind of sitting back a little bit more, you know? And that doesn't mean they don't care about Ratchet and Clank. I'm sure they do, and I'm sure they're going to put a lot of great effort and attention into the next game. I just think it means that, you know, I mean, look, Ratchet and Clank, they've been around the block a few times. And Insomniac has other projects they want to work on too, so they have to spend their time wisely, you know? It only makes sense. Another thing that helps pointing towards another Ratchet and Clank game definitely coming out is that back when Insomniac was purchased by Sony Interactive Entertainment chairman Sean Layden had an interview during which one thing he said was, "We like what Insomniac's been doing in the Spider-Man franchise, and things like Ratchet and Clank are certainly vital series in the present and future. That's what we're concentrating on." So, I mean, does this confirm, oh, a new Ratchet and Clank game next year? Like, no, obviously not. We don't know when. But them saying that Ratchet and Clank is a vital series in the present and future, and that's what they're concentrating on, that right there means, guess what? It's important, and they're not just going to leave Ratchet and Clank behind. Like I said, I know some people get a little antsy about it. I know some people are worried that it's been so long, and I kind of am too. I love this series, man. I've been playing it for, oh my god, how many years now? I don't want to think about that, but it's been a long time. But I guess the point I'm trying to make here is that, look, Ratchet and Clank, they're gonna be back. Yeah, it's taking a long time, but they will be back. And when they are, I think there's a pretty decent chance it's gonna be on the next generation, PlayStation 5, instead of the PlayStation 4. Well, that's pretty much all I have for y'all today. Let me know in the comments what you think. Do you think Ratchet and Clank are going to come back on the PS5? Do you think they're going to have another game on the PS4? Do you think maybe it'll be on both consoles? Who knows? Let me know what y'all think about it in the comments.